Hello, folks, and welcome to Wake Nation 21, the first and only fan fueled YouTube channel dedicated to everything Wake Forest athletics. We are 4 minutes late on the stream, but that's okay. We're a relaxed crew around here. We invite you to like and subscribe, especially that subscribe part, because we are only 6 subscribers away from reaching 100 subscribers. And we've only been doing this a few months. So help us reach that goal. We would really appreciate it. And we'll keep marching forward, creating Wake Forest content as fans for fans. So we've got two things on the agenda today, Shane. We've got the mid-season progress report / report card giving out grades regarding Coach Dickert and this Wake Forest football program. And we're going to preview the upcoming game against SMU, which it feels like I say this every week, but this might be the biggest Wake Forest game in about 3 years, considering 2 4-8 seasons, where we're at right now. So I'm really excited to talk about all of that stuff. How you doing today, man? You ready to get into this stuff today?
Yeah, let's get into it. Doing great. Appreciate you asking. Hope you're doing well also. What a difference 2 games will make for the emotional stability of a Wake Forest fan. Going into the VT game, we were kind of thinking, what are we doing with this season, people? Kind of on the downturn. Felt like the Georgia Tech game was taken from us. And we beat VT and we beat Oregon State. And now we're back on top of the mountain. So I'm ready to get into SMU. We got similar records. I don't think they're, Goliath, but Goliath went down. So hopefully they are Goliath.
We'll see. And I think as we get into grading the Wake Forest football team thus far this season, I think there are 2 important considerations for us to think about upon reflecting on the team so far. The first is that coming into the season, the Vegas odds for our over-under win total were what? 4.5 games.
Right, exactly.
So right now we sit at 4-2. We still got Delaware on the schedule. I should have bet all the money I had in the world on it because I believed it in my heart.
Yeah.
And then the second,
I really thought we were only going to win the gimmies. Is basically.
Yeah. And then, the gimmies in one conference game. But I think we're capable of much more than that. And I think we've all seen that now. And the second is just that the ACC and national media picked us to be last or almost last, next to last. And you and I stood on firm ground, which we might have felt was not so firm at the beginning of the season.
No.
We believed in what we were hearing, what we were seeing, and we believed that we were way better than that. And I think thus far into the season, a lot of that has come to fruition. All right, so this is the Wake Nation 21 report card for mid-season, and we're going to also preview SMU a little bit. So first, let's talk about our grades for Coach Dickert. And so a little bit of behind the scenes. I usually make the slides for the show. And one thing I really like is I can put my opinion out on these slides, and then Shane can look at them prior to the show and kind of think about, all right, do I agree with this? Like, where am I at? And he can either push back, agree, or just kind of give his take. So when you see these grades, these are like my grades. And then Shane is going to reflect back on kind of what I'm putting out there and he's going to give us back his opinion. And then you can kind of form your own opinion given what I think and what Shane thinks. So far, Coach Dickert, we're 4-2 overall. That's his record at Wake Forest. Should be 5-1, right? Should be 5-1, given one blown call that it will live in infamy. But I'm giving him an overall grade, and this is Coach Dickert as CEO of Wake Forest football, the Wake Forest football team. This is as the coach of players and the leader of young men that he is. And this is also just like program building. I'm giving him an A minus, which is a pretty dang good grade, you know. I remember on certain blog message boards when we hired Coach Dickert, a lot of guys were upset. They're like, "This guy's not anything. He's a loser. He didn't do anything at Washington State. He had one lucky year because he had John Mateer." But when I listened to Coach Dickert speak, and that brings us to my first grade of the culture, I give him an A. I almost wanted to give him an A plus, just for the way he talks about Wake Forest football, the fact that he laid it out there that we were the best program. He put a little swag on us early when he didn't have to do that. He said we're the best program of all the Big Four teams and any team in North Carolina this century. And I have not yet seen a single play where I thought this guy out here on the field is not giving 100% effort. I can't remember a play this season where I saw a player not giving 100% effort. So, before you get into your agreement or disagreement with my overall grade, Shane, what do you think about my grade regarding just like the culture, the vibes?
Yeah, I mean, he's a super confident guy. And when you have someone who carries himself with confidence and he's very articulate, that's somebody you want to get behind, you know? He's high energy. So I think that culture's, right on the money. I give him an A plus. Like, this guy is someone I would want to play football for. I know he's getting them hyped before each game because they show the video pre running out onto the field at Wake Forest. And he is just a motivator in every sense of the word. So, that's what we need at Wake, because it's not sleepy town. Let's wake up and let's get out on the field and kick some butt. So I think you did a good job with culture grid.
Yeah, A on culture, A plus on pregame speeches.
Yeah, exactly.
Pregame speeches alone is a territory for me. It just makes me want to put on the pads, strap up, and get out there and hit.
Yeah, it's like eating ice cream for us. We love it. We're motivator guys too. So
yeah,
kind
of absolutely. Talent brought in. I also had to give him an A on this. Our portal ranking, I think it was in the 40s according to 24/7 Sports. I think that rating would probably have to be revised given just how much turnover this team had and just how well they're playing. I mean, I cannot remember a defense at Wake Forest since 2006 having this much talent at all three levels of the field. And then, on offense, yes, he inherited Claiborne, but he also had to recruit Claiborne. Claiborne was his first recruit, and he had to get him back in the program. He's given us two quarterbacks who have shown themselves to be viable. The offensive line, he brought in Lely, who was highly coveted at many high-level programs across the country. He brought a few of his guys over from Washington State. Receiver room, he's brought in some guys. Chris Barnes, obviously. I just think from a talent brought in perspective, has to be an A. What do you think about talent that he brought in his first year, inheriting back-to-back 4-8 seasons.
Yeah, I can't put him down on this. I'm not in complete agreement with you. I would probably give him a B, and that mostly stems from the quarterback position. I would have liked if he would have brought the quarterback that he had at Washington State with him. The fact that he went somewhere else, highly talented individual. I think he's having a great year. So, and this whole Purdy, back and forth Robbie thing, I haven't been a huge fan of it because, especially after the last game, Purdy looks so good. And so it's, a little bit, I just don't like being in that in-between area. But the rest of the positions, I agree with you. So my knockdown from A to B is kind of based on that quarterback.
Yeah, the only reason I couldn't knock him for not getting Mateer here, John Mateer, who's now at Oklahoma, is for all of the, really well-financed people, alumni from Wake Forest University, our football program, our school size. John Mateer was going to cost a bag. I mean, he was going to cost a bag. Now, you would want to, on the other hand, you would want to think that this man, the motivator, the leader of men that he is, could convince a John Mateer to take 3 million or 2 million instead of 5 or 6 to come to Wake Forest. But, it's kind of hard to knock him for that. But I gave him an A. I think if you put us up there with some of the top programs in the league, maybe you got to bump us down to a B. Like if you compare us to other people, maybe I'm too much of a little old Wake Forest old school mentality where it's like, well, for Wake Forest, it's
yeah, and that's what I want us to be,
Yeah, maybe it's time to abandon that and maybe raise the bar for him. But yeah, I'll give him an A on that. Lineup management, I gave him a B, mostly because of the quarterback and the wide receiver rotations. Both of those have left a little bit to be desired. Now, I understand and think it was probably the right decision to start Robbie Ashford. I think Purdy needed more development, needed to sit and watch. This grade, the lineup management grade, is going to fluctuate a lot in the next 6 games, right?
Yeah.
Because now he's got a controversy. He's got Purdy playing out of his mind, albeit against Oregon State. He's got Robbie's health. He's got to figure this thing out.
We've seen behind the curtain now.
Yeah, we're going to learn a lot about his lineup management skills in the coming weeks. For now, I can give him a B. The little bit I have left to be desired regarding wide receivers was it's like why wasn't Racanelli getting more snaps from the beginning, considering what he's done?
Right.
Why isn't Chris Barnes a 90+% snap guy every game? Why don't I get any chances to see Reginald Vick or Karate Brinson? Why is it always Burkhalter seemingly? So I have some beef with that. How do you feel about lineup management?
Yeah, why hasn't there been a little bit of rotation on the O-line with, just trying out some of the other O-linemen, given the struggles that we've had at that position? I mean, I agree with your, grade here, and, it's the lowest one. But, I think that I agree with you, and I just kind of add on that O-line piece as well to kind of add to the fire.
Yeah, and we don't know how much freedom he's giving Coach Izell to make the personnel decisions on offense.
Right.
But at the end of the day, he is the CEO, and he is the head football coach. So it ultimately falls on him. Staff grade B plus. I've for the most part liked Coach Azell's offensive play calling. I've liked his versatility in terms of formations. I've liked a lot of the play calling I've seen. And then on defense, it's kind of the same. I like a lot of what Scotty Hazelton's doing. Coach Dickert is not like micromanaging Scotty Hazelton. Hazelton's held enough high level defensive coordinator jobs to where Dickert is giving him that freedom. And I just think from those two coordinators on down, seems like our staff is doing a pretty good job, and a worthy B plus grade I thought was appropriate. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, maybe I give him an A here. I think that bringing in Hayes, Coach Hayes on defense, like he is like got an excellent resume. And then on offense, Azell, he basically had an amazing season with Southern Alabama. And he's young and upcoming. So you've got kind of the tried and true Coach Hayes on defense, and then kind of not sexy, but the sexy offensive coordinator Young coming in, and so I think I give him an A on staff.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like one proven grizzled veteran and one up and coming guy who has room to grow. And I think I've even seen a little progression in Izell's play calling throughout the season, and I've liked it more and more and more as we've gone along. So I think that's a great point. Game management, I gave a B plus. Going for two against Georgia Tech was the right call, in my opinion, in overtime. Did not like the play call. The only reason I did not give it an A was our second half performances. So, our offensive explosion in the first half, and for whatever reason, I don't think it's necessarily all conservative play calling, but in terms of game management, there's just been situations where we have folded offensively in the second half, and that goes into halftime adjustments, game management. So I had to knock them down just a little bit and give them the B plus on game management. How do you feel about game management?
No amendments, full agreement.
Full agreement. All right. So overall, I gave Coach Dickert an A minus. What's your overall grade for Coach Dickert 6 games into his tenure?
B plus.
B plus. So we're right there, neck
Yeah.
and neck in terms of Coach Dickert. Outstanding job thus far into the season. Couldn't ask for a whole lot more. Not perfect, but off to a good start, off to a really good start. All right, let's grade the offense. So the offense I gave overall a B. We're averaging 29 points per game, which is pretty good. I mean, I didn't look up specifically where that ranks because there's so many teams that are hovering around 28, 29, 30. But I will say it's like in the top half of the FBS for sure. So we are a top 50%. And even in the major conferences, we're a top half of the league offensive team. So just as that as a starting point in terms of points per game, I think that's outstanding. And it's kind of reflected where we are in terms of our yardage. That gives you kind of the same type picture. It's 409, almost 410 yards per game, a pretty good balance, 160 run yards per game, 250 ish passing yards per game. It surprised me a little bit that we ranked higher in passing yardage in terms of like ranking than our run yards per game ranking. I think part of that is Damon Claiborne's health. Part of it has been the offensive line is a much better pass blocking unit than run blocking unit. The offensive line is a pretty dang good pass blocking unit. It's an average to below average run blocking unit. So I gave play calling an A minus. Play calling has been, for the most part, I have a few gripes here and there, but an A minus is a great grade. Quarterback play, I'm giving a B minus. That's Purdy has an A plus for the only time he's played a full game. And then you kind of average that with maybe Robbie, his inconsistency as a passer, you know, yeah, it hasn't been always beautiful. So I would say Robbie's played the most amount of games. He would probably get a C plus to a B minus by himself. And then we've got this one game of Purdy, but against a far inferior opponent. How do you feel about quarterback play, play calling, those two grades?
Yeah. All right. Play calling and quarterback play. All right. Play calling, very slow start to the season. I was really questioning Coach Azell, and after the first two games, I was just thinking, we have all this talent on the field. Like, what are we doing? And boy, did he turn it around. I mean, you can say, Oregon State stinks, whatever, but I absolutely loved how much we were opening up the field, going deep, spreading the field out against Oregon State with Purdy. I loved it. I was just, jumping up and down in my seat. So I agree with the play calling. If it was after the first two games of the season, it would have been a C, but boy, he went in and made a couple hundreds on some of these exams and got that average up. Quarterback play, we'll take the average of the two. Yeah, let's get a B minus here. That's fine. That works for me. I mean, I really think it's going to be a tough decision. Oregon State, I know the bottom of the barrel. Coach got fired after the game, whatever. They still have, they're still, previous P5, I know whatever, Pac-10's, or Pac-12's gone, but they're still, I assume they can still recruit like some decent players. And
Washington State almost beat Virginia this past weekend.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So strong fan base, beautiful stadium. Like, it's not like, I don't know, going and playing some Division II school or whatever.
Right.
So it's gonna be a tough decision, man, because Robbie just does not have the passing ability. Like, I'll go ahead and say it. Robbie cannot pass like Purdy. It's not even close. So that's but I think B minus, you average the two out.
Yeah. Running back play, I'm giving an A because Damon Claiborne's grit, his toughness to fight through these injuries, and then even behind him, when we've had to play our second strings, for the most part, it's been solid. Like, I don't think in terms of an ACC program, you could ask for a much better, stable, like with one elite back and then a guy like Ty Clark behind him. The only reason it doesn't get an A plus is because Tate Carney has not yet seen a carry or even an offensive down as far as I can remember.
Yeah.
And I just feel like the heart, the muscle, the power aspect, even if you play him at fullback, like, do something to get the kid on the field. That's the only reason I don't give him an A plus. But it's hard to knock our running back play really at all. Wide receiver play, obviously Chris Barnes gets an A plus. The rest of the receivers, yeah, you've had Racanelli catching some big passes, but it's not like he's been a consistent presence. Hernandez, kind of the same deal. Burkhalter, kind of the same deal. Feel like we're kind of a one-man show in terms of the wide receivers. And I think you can be a one-man show in your running back room, and that's fine. But with wide receivers, they start to key in on this main guy, and you need some other secondary guys to step up. So I don't, our wide receiver two, who is it? It's Racanelli, kind of, but he's not really getting the snaps of a wide receiver two, So I couldn't give wide receiver play more than a B. How do you feel about running back play, wide receiver play, things
Yeah.
of that nature?
All right, so this is running back and wide receiver play and not talent. So if it was running back talent and wide receiver talent, it would be an A for both because Barnes and Racanelli are an excellent wide receiver 1-2 combo. I mean, Racanelli's got hands that you only dream about in terms of wide receiver. Barnes, speed that you only dream about. And then we've all seen what Claiborne can do with a graded CO line. He's one of the fastest people I've ever seen as well. So in terms of speed, I mean, holy moly, you got Barnes, you got Claiborne, like that's about all you need. But in terms of play, yeah, it's a little bit, different because, I feel like the running backs haven't been able to really open up the way, they would want to because they haven't been getting the blocking they've needed. And then from a wide receiver standpoint, I feel like Azell is not utilizing his talent the way that, he potentially could. So, I agree with your grades, but yeah, I think we're talent A on both and maybe play B on both.
Yeah, and I think the play calling, that's Coach Izell's grade, basically, right?
Yeah.
So I'm giving him an A minus. You kind of agree with that. And I love what you just said about the talent is an A in both spaces.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's that minus, the A minus of the play calling, more of a rotational issue. I don't know. But in terms of play, wide receivers get a B for me. Tight ends, the revelation of any Falai has to bring that group to at least a B plus, in my opinion. The guys behind him, Cameron Johnson, Harry Lodge, they've been fine. They haven't really done a whole lot, but they do their jobs as blockers. They're all right. But main thing, Any has just been a bit of a revelation from where he came from, and so he's got to be a B plus at the worst. Maybe I'm even slighting him, giving him that. But the reason I gave the room a B plus is because we have a really good tight end one. I haven't seen much out of a tight end two or a tight end three. I just have not seen anything out of them. So I couldn't quite give them an A. Offensive line play, pass blocking grade, B plus, run blocking grade, D.
Yeah.
And so I'm averaging that out to be just a straight up C. How do you feel about my tight end, my O-line grades?
Yeah, I like what you just said with the O-line. I think that sums it up perfectly because, I was thinking, maybe C minus. I didn't want to give him a failing grade, but I like what you just said. Tight end play, Falai, he gets an A. I don't, the rest of them, you named them, but I haven't seen them on the field. So we'll give him an A because it's all Falai.
Yeah, I expected more out of Harry Lodge. I mean, I don't know if, maybe he's just doing small things. Maybe I should watch him more when he's on the field, and maybe he's just blocking his ass off. I don't know, but I don't see much out of tight end two, tight end three. So you pretty much agree with the grades. Overall, with the offense, do you think a B is fair? Is that
Yeah,
kind of
I think a B is fair. I think that's right. It's just an interesting mix. If we utilize our talent a little bit more, maybe we could bump that up and kind of get it to a B plus. But it's been solid, and it really is going to be determined in the next 4 games, or however many we have for the rest of the season. Like I think we're at a critical point to what we were talking about earlier. I've really, we've opened it up. We've continued to open it up, and is that trend going to continue? So, looking forward to see what happens.
Yeah, I think being in the 50s and 60s in terms of rankings with yardage and scoring, that merits, you're a top half of a Power Four conference offense. That merits a B, but you're at the bottom of the top half. So
Yeah,
if we were in the 70s, 80s, that would be a C. If we were in the 40s, 30s, 20s, we get to B plus, A minus territory. So we'll see how the stats bear that out as we move forward. Defense. So Coach Hayes's beard gets an A plus. Just his looks alone, he gets an A plus.
looks like he should be on the Viking, one of those Viking Netflix shows.
Yeah,
Just
yes,
rip
yes.
my heart out of my chest. Probably shouldn't be
Dude,
crap.
he looks straight up Viking. He looks just like he's got a can of dip. He's got 3 cans of dip in his pockets, and he's just
Good man.
spitting it in your face as he's yelling at you. But I gave the overall defense an A minus. I mean, if you look at the grade or the rankings in terms of what we're doing as a scoring defense, we're only allowing 20 points per game. That's tied for 33rd in the country with yardage, 322 yards a game, 32nd in the country. Play calling, I've really liked some of the concern coming in from what I read from Washington State fans last year was that we over blitzed. And so maybe that was a Dickert tendency to over blitz and maybe him kind of handing it over to Hayes, letting Hazelton kind of do his thing has allowed us to pull back a little bit and be super calculated in the blitz schemes that we run. I've really been impressed about our timing in terms of running the blitz and just our formational versatility, just everything in terms of play calling and formational alignment. That's an A. Um, our run defense is our biggest concern. They get a C because they're ranked 82nd in the country. Our pass D gets an A, 18th in the nation in terms of yardage allowed by the opposing quarterbacks. And we played some pretty decent quarterbacks. Like, it's not like we've played a bunch of nobodies. Cornerback play, B plus. Safety play, an A. So I'm going to stop there before I get into linebacker, D end, and D tackle. How do you feel? I mean, I think the stats kind of bear out a little bit of where we're at, but how do you feel in terms of cornerback play, safety play calling, anything about that?
Yeah, this is where I have to say I was kind of wrong, at the beginning of the season. I mean, at least kind of proof is in the pudding, and once they got out on the field, you could really see it. But I'm a little surprised, to be honest with you, about the difference in play between the linebackers and the secondary. Coming into the season, if you would have asked me which group is going to be more elite, I would have said the linebackers, and that has not proved to be the case. I mean, between Prunty, Zamari Stevenson, Devon Patterson, and Nick Anderson, like, it has been amazing, and the numbers prove it. The ranking proves it, and I'm so happy that that was the case, because it was a concern for me. And now it's not. It's actually the strength of our defense. So yeah, A, and A. For secondary, pass D, and the point that you made about Coach Hayes and the blitzing, tendency of Dickert, and we had talked about that at the beginning of the season. Are people just going to dump it off, to a running back when we blitz and just get over the blitz scheme? And that hasn't been the case. We've been calculated about our blitzing, and so yeah, it's really been a breath of fresh air, the secondary.
Yeah, the whole secondary, just if you average out corner and safety, I'm just giving them an A-. I mean, there's been times here and there they've given up plays, but overall, in terms of coverage, the guys you mentioned, and I would add even Trayvon West.
Yeah.
Once Tongue went down, Braylon Johnson. I mean, guys are just playing at a high level in our secondary. I did give our linebacker play an A, and maybe I should give them an A for talent and more so than the play.
Right.
But like, they are talented, dude, and like they are running all over the field, and I think they're contributing to our pass defense with their athleticism. Now, you could argue, well, our run defense is really bad, so why aren't they playing better there? I think that's more of a function of the defensive line play and some teams getting physical with us at the line of scrimmage.
Sure.
And so maybe I was generous. I think the defensive ends deserve a B. I think, just the combination of Hardy, Gatkuth, Kershke, they deserve at least a B. They've been getting home at least a few times a game. Defensive tackle play is maybe where I was too generous. I think maybe if we had to hone in on the reason we're getting run on so much, is that teams with big, physical, powerful offensive lines have kind of been pushing us around. And the linebackers have been trying to get to those gaps, haven't done it perfectly. So how do you feel about my grades about linebackers, defensive ends, and defensive tackles? Was I too generous with those three?
No, I mean, I think, to be honest, I think the NC State game may have skewed that ranking for run D. I mean, Hollywood ran all over us just with ease, and not just him. Their whole running back crew was able to really have their way with us. But I mean, I wouldn't say, like, I know I said that I was surprised about the defensive backs and the secondary, but it's not like the linebackers have been playing bad. That's not really what I'm saying. It's more just like I didn't expect the secondary to be as good as they are. But I think the run D's, been okay. They've been solid, but we've also seen like kind of what happens when you have a good offensive line and a good running back on the other side of the ball. Like, it kind of shows that, maybe that's, not the strength of our team.
Yeah, I think that's just couldn't say it better if I tried. I need some more Jaden Loving, Coach Hayes. I need more Jaden Loving on the field. At least when you're facing these powerful teams, I want the 320-pounder out there more than these guys are that way, like 290.
And Lovovision. I like Lovovision.
Yeah, Lovovision is great. But even he is like kind of better at shedding blocks than holding his. He's better at shedding blocks than holding his gap.
Yeah, he's better at getting to the quarterback than kind of run defense type of.
Yeah, and he can even get to running backs by getting off blocks. But we're missing that Jaden Loving whole plugger who doesn't shed blocks. He
We're
occupied.
missing. We're missing that. Let me throw it back for the True Wake fans. We're missing the Nikita Whitlock
Yeah,
effect. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
We need
Even
someone
though he
who
wasn't that big.
we need someone who occupies blockers,
Yeah.
takes on double teams, and doesn't get pushed back. And I'm not saying Jaden Loving can do that perfectly. Maybe there's a reason he's only a 50% player and we just rotate so much. Like if he was a dominant type defensive tackle, it would be hard not to have him out there more. But just I think that's the source, a big source of a lot of our run defense woes. Overall grade A-. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. A- is good. I'm good with that.
Yeah, A-. Special teams. So I did not give us a special teams grade. I just went by each unit and giving each unit their own grade. So I think these are fairly straightforward. Kickoff, B, nothing great. We haven't had anyone return a touchdown or any like crazy returns against us. Calvert is pretty good at kicking it out of the back of the end zone, 25 touchbacks. So that's just B. That's just pretty good. Kickoff return has to be an A. Barnes is averaging 39 yards every time you kick it and let him return it.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, us as a team are averaging like 35 because a couple times Barnes hasn't been the one catching it. If you kick off to Chris Barnes, you're an idiot, coach. But he had the touchdown against NC State.
Shout out to the blockers too.
Yeah, shout out to the blockers. Like they block, and that opening touchdown against NC State, I was going crazy. Punt has been the opposite of the Chris Barnes kickoff return.
What's your lowest grade so far?
Man, dude, Cal Joseph, if you ever watch this, I'm sorry, bro. I was about to give you an F. I was about to give you a straight up F, bro. I gave you a D out of.
Can't sugarcoat it. Sorry,
Yeah,
man.
I gave you a D just because I didn't want to do you like that. I didn't give anyone else an F. I think you're the only D. Like I gave you a D. That means I'm a generous grader with all these A's and B's. But 37.4 as an average punter, that's just horrible. I know it's like this rugby style kind of deal, but there's just been too many shanks and just horrible punts. It's been terrible. Punt returns, nothing crazy. Mostly Carlos Hernandez.
Yeah, and just put Barnes back there, coach. Like we don't need Hernandez.
Yeah, like Hernandez. He's popped one. He's popped one where he ran it back for like 33 yards. His average is about 10 yards, so it's good. But I agree. Put Barnes back.
Probably trying to spread out the hits, honestly.
Yeah, he's trying to limit Barnes' exposure a little bit, but I agree. Put him out there. Field goal C, and Connor Calvert, my boy, you're almost in there with Cal Joseph. Almost hit you up with a D too. You're 9 for 12 for 75%. That's not terrible, but your long for the year is 43. That's in the modern day college football era. We should not be scared. Like you've got the leg. I think the longest one you've attempted is 51. But just, if your longest attempt is from 51, not 61, but 51, and you're kicking at a 75% rate, that's just not good enough for me. How do you feel about these special teams grades, Shane? Anything stick out to you?
Not really. I think this is kind of, I mean, I like your grades and I agree with them, but I think it's good that, kickoff hasn't been a glaring weakness for us because, everyone knows that can make a difference in games for sure. Really happy Barnes is returning kicks. but we do need to improve our punting and field goal performance, because in tight games in the fourth quarter, everybody knows that can lead to the difference between a W or an L. So, but yeah, your grades are spot on.
Yeah, there's hidden yardage all over the special teams, whether it's punt return, kickoff return. There's hidden yardage there. And I think we're kind of balancing ourselves out with how good we are in some areas and how poor we are in others. And I completely agree with you. When it comes down to a game winning kick, right now at least, when Connor's stepping up to the plate, I am not feeling very great about that. Like, just
and historically, it's kind of an interesting thing, because we have had some amazing kickers at Wake. Like it's kind of one of those positions, like specialty Wake positions, that has a history of like a high level of talent. So I mean, kind of going back to personnel, I would love, even a position like kicker. I'd love to see Dickert bring in kind of a little more talent in that area.
Yeah, Clausen was a great kicking recruiter.
Yeah.
And then what's his name? Dickert brought his boy Calvert over from Washington State and anointed him over someone Clausen had already brought in, and the results haven't been great. So maybe that's a little ding on Dickert for that so far. But Connor, you can prove us wrong.
Please do.
Please do. We want you to prove us wrong. All right, let's go through our matchup this Saturday. Like I said, the biggest Wake Forest game in at least 3 years. No doubt at this point.
Yeah.
Homecoming game in Winston-Salem. SMU, who is 5-2 overall, undefeated in the conference this year, undefeated all time in the ACC. We need to break the trend. SMU has never lost an ACC game in conference play, which is absolutely just stupid.
Let that sink in.
Yeah. And, Vegas says even though we're at home, even though we have comparable records, even though our losses are probably similar type losses to similar type programs, even one of our losses way better than either of their losses and shouldn't have been a loss. Vegas thinks SMU is going to beat us. They're minus 3.5, even though they're away. The over-under is 53.5. So that's about 26, 27-ish points per team. Key wins for SMU, their biggest one was this last weekend. They beat Clemson, who, Clemson had gotten back to 3-3. But they beat them pretty convincingly. They beat them 35-24. They were up the whole game, and it was a very impressive win. Now, Stanford, Syracuse, those are just wins. Those aren't anything crazy. They're wins against lower level, lower tier ACC opponents. Key losses, I watched their loss to Baylor in double overtime. They should have won the game in regulation. They let Baylor come back. They looked better than Baylor most of the game, but Baylor just kept grinding and kept pounding and beat them. And they lost to TCU. So Baylor and TCU, they're both mid-tier Big 12 teams. They're both like 2-2 in conference play in the Big 12. The Big 12 is not the SEC this year. They're comparable to the ACC, in my opinion. So, it's not like they've beaten any giants. And they've lost to some teams that I think Wake would, compare favorably with in terms of Baylor and TCU. How do you feel about just, our chances in this game. I didn't make any like predictions or keys to winning this game. I'll get into a key as we talk about their offensive defense. But how do you feel about just kind of what you see here on paper, the fact that they're favored? Should they be favored? All that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like I said at the beginning, I think we're pretty evenly matched. The record shows that. The Vegas line shows that. TCU losing to them, I think that was probably their toughest opponent of these key wins and losses. I mean, TCU embarrassed UNC in the season opener.
And their quarterback is good. Their quarterback is good.
Yeah, in the Belichick, season opener with, Jordan and Lawrence Taylor, watching on. I mean, Clemson, whatever. I don't even want to talk about Clemson. Syracuse is better than them. That's probably their best win is against Syracuse. But I do not think they're unbeatable.
Yeah. And so I will say that I think SMU should be favored against us. I love our team. I love the talent on our team, but SMU is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And I think it bears out when you look at their offense and their defense. So their offense is dropping 34 points a game. Kevin Jennings, Coach Dickert, compared him to Cam Ward in the way that he can just throw off platform, sidearmed with ease. He has a great deep ball. He can make all the NFL throws. He's thrown for 68% completion percentage, almost 2,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He will be inaccurate from time to time, and our DB's got to take advantage of that. Chris Johnson Jr. is a very versatile. They don't have like a power back that I've seen. They have these scat backs. He's the best of them. He's got, almost 300 rushing yards, 8.4 yards per carry. They split touches in the backfield, but the dude is running. Their offensive line is a really good run blocking unit. But he's also got 162 receiving yards out of the running back position, 13 yards per catch, 4 total touchdowns, and then 2 receivers who are really good. Romello Brinson, he's, well on his way to 1,000-yard season. Jordan Hudson had 7 catches for 131 yards and a touchdown versus Clemson. The offense is high-powered now. Like, make no mistake about it. It's strength on strength again. And then their defense, they're giving up 2.5 more points a game than us. So that's a good thing. But look at their rushing yards per game allowed. They only are giving up 92 rushing yards per game. And that is because their defensive line is loaded. And I am scared to death that our offensive line against their defensive line, not so much. I mean, they do have guys that have racked up sacks. Isaiah Smith, defensive end. Cameron Robertson, defensive end, 4 and 5 sacks apiece. Defensive tackle, Jeffrey Imbo, 5 sacks. Sacks galore, but we're a pretty good pass protecting offensive line. I'm really worried about our run game. Really worried about it. I don't know who's going to – I think whoever plays quarterback for us is going to be important to think about. If Robbie is fully healthy, do we consider him just to give us a chance to run the ball? But I would say that SMU is favored for a reason. And unfortunately, Shane, I think the key matchup of our defensive line or our offensive line versus their defensive line is going to decide this game, and I'm predicting that we lose 27, or let's say 30 to 23 is something like I will predict. What's your prediction for the game?
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be won or lost at the line, whether it's the defense or the offensive line. So that scares me because everything kind of flows from the line. You know, if you're not getting a good push on offense or a good push on defense, then your skill players are not able to shine and step into their roles. So if our offensive and defensive line play the best game they played all year, then we could get a W. But if they play as they have played in, our last, all of our games, then it's either going to be, a tight one or an L for us. And I hate saying that, but just given the facts as they're presented, it is what it is.
Yeah. And two keys that could change this outcome for me. And then we'll go to the next slide because we're running long today, boy. So two keys, Lili. Will Fa Lili Famo play? He's trending towards playing, last I heard. If he plays, that helps. And the second key is we're coming off a week of rest, an extra week of rest. So we've had 2 buys this year. And so does that extra week of rest give us an advantage, or do we come out cold? But it might give us an advantage of freshness that might help us win. I'm hoping, I'm pulling as hard as we can. I'm not expecting us to win, but I do think it's in the realm of possibility. And the next 3 weeks will define us. So we've got SMU for homecoming. Then we're at FSU, who despite, having some bad losses recently, is a talented team, not to be underestimated. And then versus number 16, Virginia, and both FSU and Virginia are away games. And so I don't think we're going to be favored in any of the next 3 games unless we beat SMU. Now, if we beat SMU, then that's going to tell us a lot about this team.
Yeah. And so we have played better on the road.
Yeah, we played really well on the road. So, I say let's get 2 out of these next 3. Let's be 6-3 after these next 3 games. And I'm still rubbing my hands, and I'm still saying, "Damn, this is going really well."
I think if we beat SMU, that could give us the confidence to beat a Florida State and a Virginia, both talented teams with losses that have shown that they're not Superman. So I think that is a tick in our box, which, FSU, lost to Stanford. So, I mean.
Right. The key is I think we can beat any of them.
Yeah.
We're capable of beating any of them.
Right.
And that's a great feeling as a Wake fan, to know that we have the talent, we have the coordinators. Like, the quarterback thing's going to be really important, but we can beat any of these teams. And so the next 3 weeks will define us. If we lose all 3, then we're going to be 4-5, and it's going to feel really bad. But if we, win 2 of the 3 or all 3, we will be just next level excitement. So I'm really excited for the next 3 weeks. All right. So we've come to the end. Did you want to talk about NIL for a sec before we wrap up?
I think I'm going to do it for the next one, just because we've we've gone a little bit longer today, but yeah, I just got a couple thoughts on NIL, and I'd love to hear kind of what you think about it. But yeah, it just has to do with this is just such an interesting climate. And just to give you guys a teaser, and just to kind of food for thought, until the next time we get together, when you have these institutions, these universities who generate revenue through tuition. Okay, that's the primary way that universities generate their revenue, and then you have a side activity, let's call it, that is starting to creep into levels of I haven't looked at a university's financials, but I'd say it's either halfway there or almost there. And it's supposed to be your side activity. What do you start thinking, if you just thought of it as a business? As we see G League players starting to come into the basketball arena in college sports. And what do you do when your fan base is attached to the institution on the academic side and not to the side activity? I mean, they are in the way that the players play, but in a foundational level, it's not just like, Carolina Panthers, I'm a fan because I live in Charlotte, or I'm, in the general area. It's like I'm a fan because I went to the school, or, you could be a fan if you're in the area, and you should be. So some food for thought. I'd love to talk about it with you more, maybe in the next one. But yeah, it's the wild, wild west, but it might not be the Wild West that everybody's talking about.
That's a great teaser, man. I can't wait to talk about it. Like, you got me excited. Like, there's a lot to talk about there. So, folks, if you've made it this far, do all the things. Like, subscribe, help us get to that 100 subscribers. Comment on where you agree or disagree with our grades or our predictions about SMU. Click that notifications. Share this with your fellow Wake fans. And thank you guys, all of you who watch the show. Like we always say, you mean the world to us. We love doing this. This is a passion project for us. So thanks for watching. Mid-season grade report card. We'll see how we do the second half of the semester of college football. And go freaking Deacs. Let's go win this game Saturday. What do you think, Shane? Let's go win and beat SMU this weekend.
Let's get loud. Lots of alumni filling the stadium, showing the youngins how you cheer your team on. Go Deacs.
Yeah, set that example. Go Deacs. Let them know, baby. Let's go.